You ever watch someone walk into a room like they already hate you? Not because of anything you did, but because of who you are. Well, that's how every morning started for Malik Turner at Crescent Valley High. The bell would ring, the hallway noise would fade, and Mrs. Edith Strickland would enter, like a storm behind glass, tight bun, tighter lips, and that sharp, blue-eyed stare that could strip paint off a locker. But it wasn't the stare that bothered Malik. It was the pause. That split second where her eyes locked on him, row 3. Desk by the window, and you could just feel it. The judgment. 16 years old, quiet, smart, and black. And apparently that last one was the problem. Mrs. Strickland was the kind of teacher people respected out of fear, not admiration. Her classroom ran like a courtroom, rigid, cold, unforgiving. She didn't yell. She didn't need to. Her silence was worse. Malik kept to himself. He wasn't loud. Didn't act out. He did his homework, sat straight, and let his numbers do the talking. But it didn't matter. She'd already made up her mind. Lazy, unfocused, probably doesn't understand a thing I'm saying. One Monday, she scribbled 3 complex algebra problems on the board. Advanced stuff. Stuff even juniors would posit. She spun around and barked. Let's see who's actually been paying attention. The class hunched forward, pencils flying. Except Malik. His pencil didn't move. Strickland zeroed in. Mr. Turner, problem. Malik looked up, calm as still water. No, ma'am, I already solved them in my head. The room stilled. A few kids snorted. Oh, really, she said, voice like broken glass. Then by all means. Show us. Malik stood, slow and steady, walked to the board. One equation at a time, clean, precise, flawless. Chalk moved like it belonged in his hand. By the time he finished, you could hear the fluorescent lights humming overhead. Strickland narrowed her eyes, scoffed. Lucky guess. Malik turned his head, his face unreadable. It wasn't luck, ma'am. And for the first time in years, something cracked behind her icy exterior. From that day on, it became a game. Or maybe a war. Every lesson, she'd toss harder and harder problems his way. Some ripped from college textbooks. Problems that didn't belong in that classroom. She never praised him. Never smiled. Just crossed her arms and waited for him to slip. But Malik never did. He met every challenge with quiet determination and that smile. That infuriating, patient smile. So she upped the ante. Started taking points off his tests without explanation. Ignored his hand when it was the only one raised. Acted like he wasn't even there. And still, he never lost his cool. He just kept showing up. One day, during a surprise quiz, something broke the routine. A girl named Rosa, a quiet honor student, raised her hand. Mrs. Strickland, I think you marked Malik's paper wrong. I checked the problem. His answer's right. The room froze. Strickland didn't even look up. Do I need to remind you who the teacher is here, Miss Alvarez? Rosa's hand dropped. But not before Malik caught the look in her eyes. Part guilt, part fear. Like she wanted to say more, but knew better. And when she sat down, you could see her fists clench on her lap. Silent resistance, crushed before it could breathe. Then came the big announcement. Principal Whitaker stepped into class, broad smile under a salt and pepper beard. Crescent Valley's been invited to the state math championship. He beamed. The room erupted. Whitaker continued. We need our sharpest minds to represent us. Mrs. Strickland, your recommendations. She didn't even hesitate. Logan Miller and Thomas Klein. A few students blinked. Even Logan looked confused. Thomas, bless his heart, hadn't passed a quiz in weeks. But Strickland just smiled, that fake, tight-lipped smile. In the back, Malik said nothing. But Tyrone, his best friend since kindergarten, leaned over. She really picked them over you. Malik didn't answer. Didn't have to. The whole class felt it. Principal Whitaker raised an eyebrow. What about Malik Turner? I've heard good things. Strickland's neck stiffened. He lacks discipline. There was a pause. A long, awkward pause. Then Whitaker turned to Malik. Would you like to compete? Malik nodded once. Strickland didn't speak. Didn't have to. The fury in her eyes said everything. Training for the championship wasn't just academic. It was spiritual. Every night, Malik stayed up late with Tyrone, solving problems, running drills, checking every angle. Tyrone smuggled practice tests from the library, whispering, "She doesn't want you to win, man." Malik replied, calm as ever, "That's why I will." Some nights, he'd fall asleep over his notebook, numbers scrawled across his arm, ink smudged on his cheek. But he never stopped. Because this wasn't just about math. This was about being seen. One evening, after class, Malik stayed behind to work through a proof. Strickland watched him, arms crossed. "Why do you even bother?" she asked. Malik didn't flinch. "Because I can." That set her off. "You think you're special." Her voice cracked for the first time. "You're just a street kid with a calculator." Malik turned to her, slow and steady. And for the first time, his voice cut the air like a blade. "I don't pretend to be anything I'm not, ma'am, but you do." She froze. He picked up his notebook, walked out. And behind him, just for a second, Mrs. Strickland looked small. The day of the championship felt like stepping into a different world. Banners waved, judges in suits, cameras, lights, pressure so thick you could taste it. Mrs. Strickland stood behind her team, arms stiff, eyes fixed on anything but Malik. Round after round, schools dropped off. But Malik, he soared. He didn't just solve the problems, he danced with them. Logan and Thomas fumbled. Strickland offered nothing but pursed lips. And then came the final round. Just Malik and the reigning champ from Brookside Academy. The problem flashed on the screen, pure chaos, an equation built to break egos. Gasps. Even the judges leaned forward. Malik didn't blink. He picked up his pen. Minutes passed, his opponent stalled. But Malik, he wrote, line after line, step after step. The buzzer rang. The judge read both answers, then turned to the crowd. And the winner is Malik Turner. The auditorium erupted. Tyrone shouted like it was the Super Bowl. Whitaker clapped so hard his watch flew off. Mrs. Strickland, she didn't move, just stared, like the floor had dropped out from under her. 3 days later, Malik was called into her office. She didn't stand, didn't smile, just looked up, hesitated, and said, "I misjudged you." Malik's voice was steady. "I didn't need your approval to succeed." She blinked, hard, like the truth hit her, and she wasn't ready. That Friday, Mrs. Strickland did something no one expected. She stood in front of the class and said, "Prejudice blinds us, it blinded me." The room went still. No applause. Just a silence that felt like maybe. Just maybe. Something cracked open. Rosa looked up, met Malik's eyes, gave a small nod like a silent apology. Tyrone smiled from behind his textbook. And the crowd, well, not everyone cheered. Some looked away. Some sat stone-faced. Some whispered. Because even when truth stands center stage, not everybody's ready to clap. But Malik didn't need their applause. He didn't need revenge. He got what he came for. Not just the trophy, but the truth. The transformation. The quiet, powerful satisfaction of knowing. He didn't just solve equations. He solved her. You tell me, was that justice or just overdue decency? Who was right? Who was wrong? Let us know in the comments. And if you believe stories like Malik's matter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.